In the heart of Leipzig, Germany, there stands a colossal stone giant, silent, unmoving, watching. Tourists see it as a memorial. Historians call it a tribute. But those who've looked deeper ask a darker question. What is really hidden inside the monument to the Battle of the Nations? At first glance, the Völkerschlachtdenkmal appears to be a straightforward war memorial, built to honor the dead from the Battle of Leipzig, 1813, the largest battle in Europe before World War I. But beneath its massive stone body lies something else, something deliberate, something symbolic, something deeply unsettling. This is not just a monument. This is a message in stone. Chapter 1. The bloodiest battle before World War I. To understand the monument, we must understand the war it commemorates. In October 1813, Europe burned. Napoleon Bonaparte, once unstoppable, faced a coalition of empires: Prussia, Russia, Austria, Sweden. More than 600,000 soldiers clashed near Leipzig. It was chaos on a scale never seen before. Bodies stacked in fields, villages erased, rivers clogged with corpses. When the battle ended, 100,000+ soldiers were dead or wounded. Napoleon's empire began its collapse. Europe's balance of power was permanently altered. This battle didn't just end a war, it ended an era. Chapter 2. Why build a monument 100 years later? Here's where things get strange. The monument wasn't built in 1813. It wasn't built in 1920. It wasn't even built in the 19th century. It was completed in 1913, exactly 100 years later. Why wait a century? Because this monument wasn't just about remembrance, it was about identity. Germany, newly unified in 1871, needed a myth, a story, a symbol of destiny, and they chose stone to tell it. Chapter 3. The Architect with a Hidden Agenda. The architect was Bruno Schmitz, famous for building massive nationalist monuments. But Schmitz wasn't just an architect. He was a believer in symbolic architecture, the idea that buildings could shape national identity, encode ideology, influence the subconscious. The monument's design is not accidental. Every number, every statue, every hallway, all intentional. Chapter 4. Entering the monument, a journey downward. Visitors enter the monument and immediately descend. This is important. You go down, not up. The first chamber is dark, heavy, oppressive. This space is known as the crypt. 4 massive stone warriors stand guard. They are called the guardians of the dead. Their expressions are not heroic. They are mournful, almost judgmental. This is not a place of glory. It is a place of reckoning. Chapter 5. The Crypt, a stone funeral chamber. The crypt represents death, but not just physical death. It represents the death of empires, the death of arrogance, the death of old Europe. The ceiling presses down, the acoustics swallow sound, your voice feels unwelcome. This space was designed to make you feel small, insignificant. Many visitors report an overwhelming sense of unease. Psychologists call this architectural intimidation. Ancient civilizations used it too. Chapter 6. The Hall of Fame, where ideology lives. Above the crypt lies the Hall of Fame. Here stand massive warrior statues symbolizing bravery, faith, sacrifice, unity. But look closely. These figures are emotionless. They are not individuals. They are ideas. This is where memory becomes propaganda. This hall doesn't ask you to mourn. It asks you to believe. Chapter 7. The numbers no one talks about. The monument is filled with symbolic numbers, 91 meters tall, symbolizing dominance, 500 steps, a ritual ascent, 4 guardian statues, cardinal directions, 12 columns, time, cycles, destiny. These numbers echo ancient temples, Masonic design, pre-Christian ritual architecture. This is not coincidence. This is encoded meaning. Chapter 8. The Hidden Galleries and Sealed Spaces. Here's the part most tourists never hear. Inside the monument are sealed corridors, inaccessible chambers, structural voids never open to the public. Officially, they are structural necessities. Unofficially, no one explains why they exist in such precise symmetry. During World War II, the monument was used as an observation post, used as a shelter, possibly used for secret meetings. No public records fully document this period. Chapter 9. Nazi Era, the monument's darkest chapter. The Nazis loved this monument. They used it for rallies, ceremonies, ideological theater. Why? Because it perfectly embodied their worldview. Monumental scale, mythic past, collective sacrifice, stone over humanity. The monument wasn't built by Nazis, but it was made for them. That's the terrifying truth. Chapter 10. Is something literally hidden inside? Let's be clear. There is no confirmed treasure, no secret weapon, no alien artifact. What's hidden is worse, an idea. The monument hides how easily memory becomes myth, how architecture can manipulate emotion, how nationalism can turn mourning into worship. It's a warning carved in stone. Chapter 11. Why this matters to America. You might ask, why should Americans care? Because America has its own monuments, its own myths, its own stone giants, from Mount Rushmore to war memorials in Washington, D.C. The question is not, are monuments evil? The question is, what are they teaching us silently? The monument to the Battle of the Nations still stands, unchanged, unapologetic, silent. It does not explain itself. It waits. And the longer you look at it, the more uncomfortable the question becomes. Is this monument honoring the dead or preparing the living? Chapter 12. Architecture as a Weapon. Most people think architecture is neutral. Walls, stairs, roofs. But history tells a different story. From ancient Egypt to Rome to Nazi Germany, architecture has always been a tool of power. Bruno Schmitz understood this. The monument to the Battle of the Nations was designed to make individuals feel small, make the collective feel eternal, replace critical thought with emotional surrender. This is not accidental. Chapter 13. The Descent. Why you go down first. When you enter the monument, you descend into darkness before you are allowed to rise. This is an ancient ritual pattern, used in Egyptian burial temples, Mithraic cult chambers, Masonic initiation rites. Symbolism: descent equals death of the self. Darkness equals surrender. Silence equals submission. By the time visitors reach the crypt, they are already psychologically primed. Chapter 14. The Crypt, a stone machine for humility. The crypt is not designed for comfort. It is designed for obedience. Low ceilings, cold stone, heavy silence. Your body reacts before your mind does. Your heart rate slows, your voice lowers, your posture changes. This is known as somatic compliance, where the body submits before the brain questions. Ancient priests used it. Totalitarian states perfected it. Chapter 15. The Guardians, not heroes, but judges. The 4 massive statues in the crypt are often called heroes. They are not. They represent duty, faith, courage, sacrifice. But look at their faces. They do not celebrate, they condemn. These figures do not ask, "Did you want to die for the nation?" They declare, "You were supposed to." Chapter 16, Acoustics, Silence as a Tool. One of the monument's most disturbing features is something invisible: sound. The acoustics absorb noise. Echoes are distorted. Speech feels swallowed. This creates discomfort when speaking, a sense of being overheard, a subconscious urge to remain silent. Silence here is not peaceful, it is enforced. Chapter 17, The Ascent, Rebirth through Ideology. Only after passing through death are you allowed to climb. The staircases are narrow, steep, endless. Each step is intentional. Fatigue weakens resistance. Height creates awe. Effort increases emotional investment. By the time visitors reach the Hall of Fame, they are no longer neutral observers. They are participants. Chapter 18, The Hall of Fame, where memory becomes myth. This hall is brighter, higher, more open. Relief washes over you, and then you look up. Massive warrior figures stare outward, not at you, but beyond you. This is key. They do not protect individuals. They protect ideas, the nation, the myth, the eternal struggle. This is where grief is transformed into glorification. Chapter 19, The Symbols Hidden in Plain Sight. Throughout the monument are symbols most visitors never question: repeating geometric patterns, angular symmetry, overwhelming scale, stone faces without emotion. These mirror pre-Christian sun cult imagery, Germanic pagan warrior myths, early 20th century racial mythology. The monument blends history with mythology until the two become inseparable. Chapter 20, The Sealed Spaces No One Explains. Architectural surveys show hollow chambers with no public access, closed stairways, structural voids that serve no engineering necessity. Official explanations are vague: support spaces, maintenance areas, but their precise placement raises questions. Why symmetry? Why alignment? Why permanence? Some spaces were never meant to be entered. Chapter 21, The Nazi Takeover, a Perfect Stage. When the Nazis rose to power, they didn't need to change the monument. They simply used it. They held torchlight ceremonies, oaths, mass gatherings, because the monument already spoke their language: stone, myth, sacrifice, eternity. It was architecture that felt Nazi before Nazism existed. Chapter 22, After the War, Why It Was Never Destroyed. After World War II, Germany destroyed many symbols of the past, but not this one. Why? Because the monument was too dangerous to erase and too powerful to ignore. East Germany rebranded it. West Germany distanced from it, but neither dismantled it. Stone survives ideology. Chapter 23, The Real Secret Inside the Monument. There is no hidden gold, no secret documents, no forbidden chamber with artifacts. The secret is simpler and darker. The monument proves nations can turn death into obedience. Architecture can replace religion. Memory can be weaponized. It is a manual written in stone. Chapter 24, Why America Should Pay Attention. America builds monuments too. We say they honor the fallen, but we rarely ask, what emotions do they create? What behavior do they encourage? What questions do they silence? The monument to the Battle of the Nations is not Germany's problem. It's a warning for everyone.
Chapter 25, When Monuments Become Military Assets. By the late 1930s, Europe was preparing for war again, and massive stone structures like the Monument to the Battle of the Nations were no longer just memorials. They were strategic assets. The monument's height, over 300 feet, made it one of the tallest structures in the region. That mattered very much. Chapter 26. During World War II, Leipzig became a military target. Factories, rail lines, supply routes, and above them all stood the monument. Historical records confirm. Observation posts were installed at the top. The viewing platform was used for aerial surveillance. Military personnel were stationed inside. This wasn't symbolic use, it was practical. The monument became an eye in the sky. Chapter 27. Air Raids and the Underground Truth. As Allied bombing intensified, civilians needed shelter. Thousands sought protection inside the monument. What many didn't realize, they were descending into a structure never designed for comfort or safety. Stone walls trapped sound. Limited exits caused panic. Darkness amplified fear. Some survivors later described the experience as like being buried alive while still breathing. This was no coincidence. The monument had always been built like a tomb. Chapter 28. The Sealed Levels Below the Crypt. Architectural surveys conducted decades later revealed something unsettling. Below the publicly accessible crypt level are reinforced lower sections, structural cavities extending deeper than expected, chambers with no public documentation. These spaces are not tourist areas. They are not maintenance tunnels. They are sealed. Why? Official answers remain incomplete. Chapter 39. Records that vanished. Many wartime documents related to the monument are missing. Not destroyed, not archived, missing. East German authorities later claimed no relevant materials survived the war, but historians found that unusual. Other buildings of similar importance had records preserved. Why not this one? What exactly happened inside those walls between 1939 and 1945? Chapter 30. The Soviet Occupation. Silence, not investigation. After Germany's defeat, Leipzig fell under Soviet control. The Soviets secured the monument, restricted access, conducted inspections, and then they said nothing. No public reports, no press statements, no findings. Silence. When the Soviets stay silent, historians pay attention. Chapter 31. Cold War, a monument in the shadows. During the Cold War, East Germany rebranded the monument. It became a symbol of anti-imperialist victory, a site for controlled ceremonies, a carefully managed historical narrative. But some areas remained off-limits, not damaged, not unsafe, just closed. Chapter 32. Why no full excavation ever happened. You might assume that by now the monument would be fully explored. It hasn't been. Why? Because excavation risks structural destabilization, political embarrassment, historical contradictions. Sometimes it's safer not to know. Chapter 34. Rumors versus reality. Let's address the rumors. No credible evidence supports hidden Nazi treasure, occult artifacts, superweapons. But dismissing all questions would be dishonest, because what is real is this. Certain spaces were intentionally designed to be permanent, sealed, and unquestioned. That alone is worth asking why. Chapter 35. Architectural Intent, the Final Piece. Bruno Schmitz believed monuments should outlive governments. He once wrote that national architecture must speak when men are gone. That statement changes everything. The monument was never built just for 1913 or 1945 or today. It was built to endure beyond truth. Chapter 36. The psychological afterlife of the monument. Even now, visitors report unease, oppressive silence, emotional heaviness, not fear, weight, the kind that stays after you leave. That is not accidental. Chapter 37. What the monument really contains. It does not contain secrets in the Hollywood sense. It contains something more powerful, a lesson in obedience, a blueprint for emotional control, proof that memory can be engineered. The monument does not hide objects, it hides intent. Chapter 38. America's Mirror. Why does this matter to Americans? Because America is not immune. When monuments become larger than people, louder than history, more permanent than truth, they stop being memorials, they become instructions. The most dangerous structures aren't the ones hiding secrets, they're the ones teaching us what not to question.
Chapter 38. The dangerous comfort of stone. Stone feels permanent. That's why humans trust it. When something is carved into stone, we assume it's settled, finished, beyond debate. The monument to the Battle of the Nations exploits this instinct. It doesn't argue, it doesn't explain, it simply exists and lets your mind fill in the meaning. That is its power. Chapter 39. Memory versus monument. Real memory is messy, contradictory, uncomfortable. Monuments are clean, simplified, silent. The monument does not tell you about desertion, about civilians crushed between armies, about commanders who failed. It tells you sacrifice was necessary, and nothing more. Chapter 40. Why the monument was never fixed. After 2 world wars, Germany faced a choice: destroy the monument or leave it standing. Destroying it would admit it helped shape dangerous myths. It influenced future violence. Leaving it standing allowed something else: reinterpretation without responsibility. So it stayed, unchanged, uncorrected. Chapter 41. The Lie of Neutral History. There is no such thing as neutral architecture. Every hallway directs, every stair instructs, every statue suggests. The monument teaches collective identity over individual thought, obedience over questioning, eternity over accountability, and it does so without words. Chapter 42. The Visitor Test. Why you feel what you feel. Ask anyone who has visited. They rarely say, "It taught me history." They say, "It felt heavy. It was overwhelming. I couldn't explain it." That reaction is the lesson. Emotion comes first. Interpretation comes later. That's not remembrance. That's conditioning. Chapter 43. What the monument is still doing today. The monument is now marketed as a tourist site, a cultural landmark, a historical attraction. But stone doesn't change its message. It only waits for new audiences. Each generation projects its fears and hopes onto it, and the monument absorbs them all. Chapter 44. America's Uncomfortable Reflection. This story isn't about Germany, it's about us. America has war memorials, national monuments, stone symbols of identity. The question isn't whether we should have them. The question is, are they teaching memory or obedience? Chapter 45. When honor turns into instruction. A memorial should ask, what did this cost? A monument often declares, this was necessary. That difference matters. When sacrifice becomes sacred, questioning becomes betrayal. That is where history ends and myth begins. Chapter 46. The Monument as a Warning. The monument to the Battle of the Nations doesn't hide treasure. It hides a warning. It shows how nations grieve. Grief becomes identity. Identity becomes justification, and how easily stone can replace truth. What's hidden inside the monument is not underground. It's inside us, our need for meaning, permanence, justification. The monument reflects whatever we bring to it. That is its final secret. Quote, empires fall. Armies disappear, but the stories we carve into stone, those are the wars that never end.